I just want to introduce myself. I'm Urvashi Pitre. My blog is twosleevers.com. And I would say every other Friday we do this. And so we have my husband Roger who runs the camera at the back. And then we have my son Alex who helps with answering questions. So if you have questions or comments, if you type them into the comment line, he'll usually get my attention. Usually when I'm in the middle of a sentence is when he gets my attention, but it always works out and I try to answer those questions. So Kathy Jacoby usually posts links so that we can get started. I see a bunch of eyeballs, so I know you guys are here. If you cannot hear, let me know. I'm assuming all is good if you can hear. So hey Martin, you found us. So today I'm going to actually show you 3 dishes, but one of them I've cheated with a little bit. I've done it ahead of time. And while we wait for people to find us, hey Linda, while we wait for people to find us, I would like to tell you about my cookbook, which was recently selected by Amazon as one of their top 20 cookbooks of 2017. It's an Indian Instant Pot cookbook. It's been authorized by Instant Pot. And it's got 56 recipes, of which 14 are meat. Everything else is vegetarian. And even on the meat ones, you can actually modify them to have other vegetarian alternatives. I have a chart in there that tells you how. So you should go look for this on Amazon if you don't mind. There's only one Urvashi Pitre. It's very easy to find. And I hope you enjoy this. However, I am not cooking from this today. So I'm going to put this aside. Can you hear my dog drinking water? Gracie just walked in and she's very thirsty, so now she's having a little drink of water back there. Today, I'm cooking from a few Mexican recipes that I have. So I have lived in Texas for 30 years, which is actually longer than I've lived in India. And so I've been cooking Mexican food for a while, and Tex-Mex food, and New Mexico food. And I have an e-cookbook that I created a while ago. Let's be honest, guys, it's not as polished and sophisticated as my print book, but it's a nice little book. It's got several recipes, so maybe you'll try that. So with that, let me get started. I see we have enough people. Hey, Sally. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to show you how to make a chicken poblano soup. So let me show you what I've got here. I've got some navy beans. These beans cook in about 10 minutes. So these are very, very good to use. However, I can't use that many beans. Okay, so I have to be really, really careful. Okay, so here are the navy beans that I'm going to be using. And then I have some poblanos and some garlic in here that I've put in together. And then I'm going to cheat with a little bit of cauliflower to get a creaminess. Okay, I've got some onions. I've got some cilantro that I'm going to use later. And then I've got a few finishing ingredients. I have some cumin coriander powder that I'm going to be putting in. And then I will put in some cream cheese later. And I've got some chicken. So now what I'm going to do is let me move this tray aside and let me bring the Instant Pot in view so that we can see what we're doing. And you will watch how complicated it is to make the soup, because essentially what I'm doing is I'm pouring everything in. So here are my poblanos and my garlic. Now I don't care that they're whole, okay? Because I'm about to puree the soup. The beans I soaked for an hour just because beans are so variable, it's hard to tell what's going on. And so see these? I soaked them in hot water for an hour, and I'm going to dump those in there. I'm going to dump some cauliflower in there. I'm going to dump some onions in there. Okay? And then I'm going to sprinkle some cumin coriander. Now, okay, guys, I know that Mexican cooking typically does not combine those two, but I do. I'll tell you why. There's some salt. There's some pepper. I typically combine them just because I use it combined for Indian cooking a lot, and it just makes it easier for me. So I've got some chicken breast in here that I'm going to dump in. Now, because those chicken breasts are like huge, ginormous ones, I actually put some, I cut them up so that we would have a little bit of clarity. And then I'm going to put in, let me just start with that much water and see what's going on.
Is the cauliflower raw?
The cauliflower is raw. The cauliflower is raw. So all of this now is going to get cooked. So see how I at least cut the chicken in half? I do this because look how thick this breast would be without that, okay? So at least if I cut it like this, the insides are going to cook. So when people ask, can I make chicken breast for whatever? You can. You just cannot expect something that is this thin to cook at the same time that's something that is that thick, Okay, something is either going to overcook or undercook. So you know how for Chinese and for Asian stir fries, they tell you to make sure everything is the same size. It is not dissimilar really for a pressure cooker. So I'm going to dump all this in, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in some cilantro because I want some of the flavor, and I'm going to leave some of the cilantro for a fresh zing at the end of it. Okay, that's it. So now I'm going to seal this. And I'm doing it backwards, so it's always difficult. And I'm going to move this pot. And the pot, Roger, if you will move down to here. This is an ultra. And I have set the pot for, sorry. I'm going to set the pot for, let's say about 14, 15 minutes, okay? And I'm going to hit start. So in case of the Ultra, let me just give you a quick rundown. The way the Ultra works is it's got a dial. And so in the other ones, we've got buttons. The Lux and the Duo, for example, have buttons, and Ultra has a dial. It's ultimately customizable. And you can actually do sous vide in there, which I have done quite a bit of. Okay, so with, yes, honey? Yes, yes. So most herbs do taste different whether they're cooked fresh or not. So what I do actually for pressure cooking is I cheat a little bit, and I put some herbs into the pot for giving flavor, because what a pressure cooker really does is extracts flavor. So what I could do is I could make a chicken stock, okay? And in the chicken stock, what would I put in? I would put in onions, garlic, some kind of herb, whether it's thyme or cilantro or whatever, and I might put in a little bit of chicken, and I might make a stock. Now, what I'm doing in this case is I'm cheating a little bit, and I'm putting everything in at the same time, and so I want to put some herbs in to get some flavor. Yes, Alex?
What's the name of this recipe?
This is called low-carb chicken poblano soup, and it's on twoslevers.com. Alex can post a link in a little bit. It's not in the cookbook. It's actually on the website. It's on an e-cookbook that I have. It's a Mexican e-cookbook that's available for purchase. So while that cooks, I want to walk you through the gem. So now it takes a while to heat up, so I'm going to go ahead and get it started on saute. And I will tell you about this pot. Okay, so Roger, if you want to move to the top view for just 1 second, this pot, as most of us know, is not a pressure cooker. Okay, this pot is a multi-cooker, and I'll show you everything that it's got. But here's essentially, it's huge, guys. Look, this is my hand. My hands are huge. It's the length of my forearm. Okay, it's a pretty big pot. The pressure, Julian, the pressure is sealed, but the way that the Ultra works is that when you close the lid, it seals itself, so you don't have to worry about it. So getting back to the gem here, it comes with a little rack. The other day I made ribs, and so what I did was I put this in, and I put the ribs on top, and it kept them from getting water in the bottom, and it allowed them to sort of almost roast, if you will. Yes, Alex? Yeah, that's the question I just answered. Yeah. Okay, so now here's an interesting thing. Now, for those of you who have 10% of the population cannot stand cilantro. It tastes like soap. If that happens, do not use it. Use parsley, use Mexican oregano, use something else that's going to be really flavorful. What you really just want, Alex, post a link to the chicken poblano from the website if you don't mind. Oh, thank you, love. Okay, so then this is the little pot that it comes with. See, down here is where the heat comes in from on this gem, and this is the pot. Look at this lovely, lovely feature that is so user-friendly, which is that it's got silicone handles. So this pot is actually a little warm, and I have just lifted it up, and it's really just not a problem. Okay, Roger, if you want to move to the front view, I'm going to walk through some of the features that we've got in here. Okay, Fabi has just met a friend. So yeah, Fabiha is finding friends everywhere she goes. The UPS guy here, everywhere. Okay, here, let me just give you a front view of this one. And I know it may be a little bit hard to see. You know what? This is what we did last time. I'll do it again. I'll turn it sideways. So Roger, I'm really sorry, darling. Can we go up to the top again? Hey, Kim. Guys, have you seen Plate Art for Kids? Plate Art for Kids. That's run by Kim An, and Chef Sam is the cutest little chef ever. So if you have not followed that page, you really should, because it is your daily dose of cuteness. Let me just tell you that right now. Okay, so see this pot from the top now? Let me explain how this is going to work. So here is the sear and saute function. it allows you to bake. So I have actually baked a butter chicken pizza because of Jennifer, who runs Dumpster Firehouse School of Cooking, I think is the name of the blog. But she decided that she wanted to make try a butter chicken pizza, and then we all ended up making it. So you can bake in this. This stew function, see now, if I were to press stew, let me press cancel here and press stew. One of the things that frustrates me a little bit with this pot is, look, the stew will only go, it's upside down. Sorry, guys. I'm geographically challenged, as everybody in my group who's trying to help arrange the California thing can tell you. Look at this stew thing. It'll only go up to 200, and it'll only go down a certain amount. So I made a Lebanese hashway with rice, which is ground beef and rice. And this button, actually all I had to do was press that button and it worked. And then you've got roast. Okay, so let's think of what appliances you have that you may not need if you had this, okay? So clearly this works like an electric skillet, okay? This works like an oven. This, and this kind of works like a slow cooker, these three things. This works like a steamer rack would. To be honest, I feel like the roast does much the same thing that a bake would. So here we're talking 2 oven functions, and we're talking a rice cooker. So to recap, electric skillet, oven, steamer, slow cooker, and rice cooker. Okay? So technically, you could get rid of all of these. Okay? So this is how it works. So let's do this. Let's actually cook in this and see what's going to happen. So let me get the right ingredients for this now. Whoa, I just dropped my pepper grinder over. So what I'm going to do for this one is I am going to put in a little bit of oil. And here's what we're going to make. We're going to make a shrimp with cotija. And I know I am exactly like Verizon. Can you hear me now? How about now? Can you hear me now? Okay, so let me move some of the ingredients here. This is a bit of a tight fit, but we're just going to have to cope. So now see, I have to pick the pot up and tilt it. So now I want to point out something. In some of my recipes, I want you to saute the garlic. You're going to have to tilt the bowl because there's no way you're going to put in enough oil to cover the whole bottom of the bowl, okay? It's a pretty large bowl, so just be aware of that. So I've got some oil going on in here. When this is hot, which it will tell me when it's hot, let me just show you what I'm putting in without putting it in quite yet. So I'm going to put in some chopped onion. I'm going to put in some diced jalapenos. And oh, you know what? I forgot to cut this guy. Let me fish out the, this is terrible. I'm going to fish out the garlic because I really should have cut it, which I will do as we're cooking. And then I'm going to put in some tomatillos. So basically, I'm going to take onions, garlic, and tomatillos, and I'm going to cook them. And I'm going to get this really, really flavorful sauce out of that. And when that sauce is done, I'm going to put in some shrimp, and I'm going to put in some feta cheese, and I'm going to put in some flavors. Okay? This is, yeah, Kim, it would pretty much have to go in the garage. Like I said, it's really, really big, so just be aware of that. So as this is heating up, so I use peanut oil just because it has a high smoke point, but you can pretty much use anything you want. You know, it's just whatever. Here's the thing, the flavor is going to come not from the oil. The flavor is going to come from all the other goodness that we're going to put in here. So I'm just not going to worry about what kind of oil. And while this is happening, I'm going to chop my garlic real quick. So I'm just going to do it on the side here. While I'm doing this, does anybody have questions about the gem that I can answer for you? Alex, how are we doing? Huh? Oh, what's a tomatillo? So tomatillo, I'm going to be the wrong person to ask about this, but it's actually, it tastes like a green tomato. So it tastes a little bit raw. Now, when you buy it in the grocery store, it comes with husk, okay? And so what you have is this little husk around it, and it's kind of sour, if you will. You need to remove the husk, and then you need to wash it with some hot water to get the sticky of the outside out. Now, if you live in an area that doesn't have tomatillos, which may be most of outside of Texas, you may need to use something else. And what I would do for this is I would use the most raw tomatoes you could find. It's not going to be quite the same, but hey, you know, you got to be flexible when you cook, right? So we're not going to worry about that so much. Okay, so that wasn't the best dice that I've ever done in my life, but you know, we're in a hurry. And Urvashi forgot, so we're gonna do what we can. Okay, I want you to notice something. I have this thing turned up to 400, okay? I have it turned up as high as it will go. And the whole time that I was showing you the gem, it was on. It's not exactly burning things. You see that? It's not exactly burning things. And what I have learned is that you're better off moving everything into the center. So like, for example, let's be honest, guys, if I had a full kitchen and I didn't care how many appliances I had and I wanted an electric skillet, or I wanted a cast iron pan, it might do the same function here. But I'm going to use my gem because it's going to allow me to cook in one place and clean just one little pot. It's a non-stick little pot. And if I were traveling or in an RV or in a dorm, then I would be able to use this and not have any issues. Okay, so we're going to let this onion cook a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some jalapenos. Now, people always ask me, what should I use? Should I use a jalapeno? Oh, forgot garlic. Should I use a jalapeno? Should I use a serrano? You should use whatever is on sale at the grocery store. This is how Urvashi shops. Okay, whatever you can tolerate, whatever is there is what I use. People ask if I de-seed. I never de-seed. I'll be honest with you guys, I find it really funny that we take out all the peel, all the fiber, all the seeds, and then we, a bunch of us take Metamucil or some kind of fiber afterwards. So for me, it's a lot easier to just get the fiber from the food, and that's typically what I end up doing. How is this coming to pressure already? I don't understand that. Okay, so see, it takes a while. It really just takes a while. So in the meantime, I'm going to see if I can answer questions. So Colorado seems to have them. What else? Hey, Karen. Colorado seems to have them. Wisconsin seems to have them. So tomatillos are available in quite a few places. So in the poblanos, I took the seeds out. Just because, I don't know why, I just took the seeds out in the poblanos. I will tell you one thing I did not do that's going to horrify most of us. So most of us, when we are taught to cook with poblanos, we are taught to roast the poblano and then peel it, okay? And I almost never do that in pressure cooking. Does it give a better flavor? Yes, you would get a much smokier flavor if you did that. There's no doubt about it. However, in these dishes, the poblano is going to become part of the base, the stock, if you will, okay? There's many, many other flavors coming in. And the pressure cooker cooks the bejeebers out of that poblano. So there is no kind of tough skin that you have to contend with. So I use it as a shortcut and don't do it. Now, one thing you could do is you could cut the poblano into strips, you could put it at the bottom of the ultra, and you could let it sear without stirring. Okay, and that does it. So I'm trying to take as many shortcuts as I can in order to get the cooking done as fast as I can. So Roger, if you will move to the top. This isn't, I'm impatient right now because I really think this should be cooking faster and it's not, so I'm a little bit impatient. But I'm going to go ahead and put in my tomatillos when it's about, see how it's translucent? This is not a bad time for me to put in my tomatillos. By the way, I have not made this dish in 4 years. So you are going to find out with me what is going to happen here, okay? Now, once my tomatillos go in, what I am going to do is I'm going to salt. And there's two reasons I'm doing that. One is it's going to help extract some of the juice from it. The other reason is the salt helps it caramelize a little bit and extract some of that flavor, okay? It's going to help the tomatillos cook down. So actually, to make this easier on myself, I'm going to put the lid on and I'm going to wait. And in the meantime, I will clean up some of my mess that I've made over here. And I'm going to be using these shrimp. Now, the interesting thing about these shrimp, actually, I'll just show you here. The interesting thing about these shrimp is that they're half with tails, half without tails. Because initially, when a friend of ours said she would buy the shrimp for us, she bought cooked shrimp. So we just ate it for lunch. Then Roger went to buy shrimp, and he went to the only grocery store that only had half a pound of shrimp. And, half with tails, half without tails. So, hey, welcome to real life living, right? It was shrimp, we were happy. So we got that. While we've been doing this, by the way, the soup has come to pressure. It says it's cooked, and I'm going to let it NPR for a little bit before I show you the next steps. So let me explain what's going to happen here. So I'm going to let the tomatillos cook down a little bit, okay, because they need to be cooked. I'm going to put the shrimp in, and then I'm going to put a little bit of cilantro, and a little bit of feta cheese. Now, feta cheese is obviously not traditional in Mexican cooking. What you would use is you would use cotija. And yes, you can absolutely make this on a stove top. The thing with cotija is it's very much like this. So you see how this feta is crumbly? You want a crumbly tart cheese. Now, there's two kinds of cotija. There's regular cotija, which is, just regular cotija. And then there's a cotija anejo, which is an aged cotija, which is aged for at least 100 days. So that cotija, if they're asking for aged cotija, you want to use as a substitute Parmesan or Reggiano, you might use. Okay, if it's not asking for aged, your best bet is to substitute with feta. Okay, so when a recipe calls for cotija and you don't have it, if it's regular, use feta. If it's aged, use Parmesan or Reggiano or a mix. And you can also use queso fresco. Now, the thing about this is this cheese is not going to melt. Okay, just be prepared for that. It's going to be like you put cheese crumbles on top of something. Yes, love? Yes, you absolutely can. In the Duo Plus, it is hard because the time that the shrimp will take to cook, you know what? Actually, I take that back. I bet you something. I bet you what? I bet you if you use frozen shrimp, you actually could. You actually could. Okay, so these tomatillo are not yet done. Okay, so it's taking a while. We're just going to let this go. Okay. What other questions do we have while we do this? Anything? Any other questions? Okay, move to the front view, Roger. I'll just talk through a few little things. What I want to know is how many of you have tried any of my Mexican recipes at all? Because there's a carne adobada, which looks like a chile colorado, so you might try that. There's horchata, there's arroz con pollo, there's a tres leches croissant pudding that I made in that cookbook. And by the way, all of this is available on the blog, so don't feel like you have to buy the cookbook. It's just kind of, if you want everything in one place, then you can have that. I'm trying to think there's a carne guisada that's in there. There's a caldo de res. Actually, it's kind of funny. A lot of people on Google are looking for caldo. And many of them end up at my website. So there's a very, very clear, lovely soup. So I think this conception that people have that all Mexican food is very spicy is actually not the case at all. You see, I put jalapenos in because I like them, but by the time they cook down, they're not going to be spicy. Have I tried a roasted chicken oh, and yes, the chicken tortilla soup is the bomb. Not only is it the bomb, you have to see Little Sam make that chicken tortilla soup. Kim, post a link to your video for where she's making it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Okay, this is good. This is good. See how this is cooked down? Okay, these tomatillos, they'll still have some crunch, but what you don't want is mush. Okay, so feel it with your, are we on the top view, love? Feel it with your spoon, and if you can see them soft a little bit, it's time for us to put in the shrimp. Okay, and at this point, we are going to go ahead and put in our cheese just to warm up that cheese. Okay, I'm just going to put the whole thing in. What am I saving it for? And then I'm going to put in half of that. Okay, guys, onions, garlic, tomatillos, and shrimp. And then this is my cumin powder or cumin coriander. Now be really, really careful with the salt because there's a lot of salt in the cheese. Okay, and some of these have shells left on them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spread this out so that it can cook. Oop, left two in here. What, honey? You can. What you'd have to do is you'd have to cut it. Actually, you know what? If you were substituting chicken, I would totally instant pot this and do it for like in small pieces for 3 or 4 minutes. The only thing you have to worry about is your tomatillos might be mushed by then. That's the only thing I would worry about with that. So I'm going to shut this down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lid on this, and I'm going to move it aside. And now, while this cooks, I'm going to talk to you about, hang on. I'm going to talk to you about horchata. So, this is how horchata is traditionally made. You get some rice, you soak the rice in water, and then you put it in a lot of water, and then you put it through a blender. Once it's done through the blender, then you strain it. And a lot of times what happens is you have to soak the rice overnight. So it's not unusual for you to soak the rice and a couple of sticks of cinnamon in the water, leave it in overnight. In the morning when it's soft, you take it out, you blend it, then you strain it. Okay, and then you're ready to start cooking. So, yeah.
Tell us about the gem.
Yeah, what about the gem? Compared to what?
The pressure cooker.
Okay, so you may have missed the part about where I was talking about the gem. The gem is not a pressure cooker. What it does is it does what an electric skillet will do, which is sear and saute. It will allow you to bake in it at various temperatures. It functions as a slow cooker, and it functions as a rice cooker. So in this one little appliance, like for Thanksgiving, for example, I had something going in here. I think, what did I make? I think I made ribs, or what did I make, honey, for Thanksgiving that we put in the gem for hours? Do you remember? Brisket? We had brisket or something in there for hours, and the main oven had something else going on. So it's a really nice, handy little portable oven if you live in a hot climate and you don't want to turn it on. It's a small little thing. It's self-contained. There are no splatters. It's really easy to clean. And you can, if you're making a frittata, you could, for example, saute the vegetables. You could put the eggs in, and you could turn from saute to bake, and you could let it cook. So in that sense, I find it to be quite helpful. Okay, here we are. We're almost there with this guy. Here's the thing about cooking live. You don't know how long something is going to take to cook. So I was going to switch to horchata, but now I'm not. I'm going to finish this recipe first because it is actually almost done. Yes, love?
What kind of rice and the refrigerator?
What kind of rice?
Yeah, they use for the...
For the rice. Oh, for the horchata, yes. I think you use any kind of rice because it's going to get squished. Long grain for horchata. Alex uses long grain. What, honey? Roger's not happy with where I have this thing positioned. Okay, you guys see, it's done. Okay, so now we're going to give it a little burst of lime juice. Have I ever made tamales? I live in Texas. It's so much cheaper to buy them that I don't usually make them. Hang on, honey. Is that your question or their question? Huh? I don't make tamales, but one could. And then for a little extra flavor and butter, I'm going to dump in a little bit of butter in this. Okay? Now this butter is going to emulsify with the sauce. So let me just beat that in real quick. Okay, there is nobody watching the show who cannot make this dish. Nobody. Okay? You saw what I did. I sauteed onions and garlic. I put in tomatillos. I put in some spices. I put in some shrimp. I put in some water. And this is our dish. Okay? So does this look good to you guys? I hope this looks good. I will dish it out in a minute. Let me turn this off. And actually, let's dish it right now. So
Is the gem a good slow cooker?
the gem is a good slow cooker. I have tried it for a few little things, and it's actually been pretty phenomenal. So now anybody else could lift this really easily. I can't. Oops! And I'm terrible at plating. But here's this that we cooked in about, 10 minutes or so, right? I'm going to, we had some of these large ones with the shell on them that I didn't realize. But now that we have them, why don't we make this pretty? And we will put this up here for ourselves because even if it's just us eating, it needs to be pretty. And my bowl is clearly too small, so let me not stress this too much. I'm going to unplug this. I'm going to move the gem aside. And then, if you want to focus on the top again, Roger, you have a couple of choices. You could just serve this deliciousness as is. I'm going to do a little more of this. I'm going to do a little more cilantro here, just 'cause. And then you can do either ancho chili, or I couldn't find my ancho chili, so I'm using some sweet paprika. And really, this is just for a little smokiness and a little flavor. Okay? So you are probably much better at plating than I am. I can eat, but I'm not very good at plating. So anyway, here's my food.
How many quarts is the gem?
Okay? I would have to look that up. So let me just lift this up so you guys can see this food clearly. Okay? There's your shrimp and cotija. And there we go. So that was a very, very quick dish that we made. And I'm now going to switch for sure to the horchata. So let's talk about that horchata again. Some of you may just be joining. I'm Urvashi Pitre from ChooseLevers.com. My husband Roger is manning the camera, and my son Alex is answering questions. Alex is going to be 18 in a few days, so he's going to leave us pretty soon to go to college. I'm trying really hard not to cry as I say that. But while he's here, he's helping. Okay, so horchata, you soak regular rice. Alex uses long grain. I use short grain just because it's going to get mushed. You leave it in the fridge overnight. Excuse me. Then you grind it, and then you strain it. So here's what I did. Because I'm a geek and I like to experiment, I tried this multiple ways. So I tried it with the rice. It was very arduous. I could not see myself making it. So then I thought, well, why don't I just use rice flour? Because I had rice flour for some Indian recipe I was trying to make, which didn't work out, but I'm going to do it. So I tried rice flour, and what we found was that rice flour really separated and stayed at the bottom, and it really didn't work out. And so I was really frustrated, but for me, for some reason, third time is the charm. Most of my recipes work out the third time. If they don't the first time, then they work out the third time. So in this case, what happened was I was in the grocery store, my brain was spinning, and I realized that what you're trying to do by soaking that rice and straining it is you're trying to make rice milk. Well, guess what? There's rice milk available in the market. So this is the hack. Guys, this is the simplest way that you have ever made authentic tasting horchata. Go buy yourself this. Buy it unsweetened if you can, because you want to be able to control how much sugar goes in. This is a 3-ingredient horchata. You're going to take... Where's my third ingredient? Here we go. Let me move this aside and show you this. All right, Roger, if you want to move to the overhead, let me position this perfectly. So basically what I did was generic stevia, because they're so expensive otherwise. I use ready-made rice milk, and then I use cinnamon sticks. So these are cassia bark sticks. Now you see this and the cumin coriander is the same thing I use for Indian cooking. It's the same thing I use for Ethiopian cooking. But essentially what really works is to use rice milk. You put some of this in, and you put some of this in, or you put sugar, or you put agave. I wouldn't put agave. I would put sugar, or I would use this, one of the two, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to give it 4 minutes, okay? 4 minutes, and then you're going to let it NPR, because if you don't let it NPR, it spews all over the place. Now, as it happens, because it takes so long to make, I actually made this ahead of time, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So forgive me as I turn my back on you guys. Oops, this could be a little bit dangerous. I am known to be a klutz. Uh-oh. All right. I know, at least I warned everybody. Cover your ears, or she's about to drop something. Okay, so I had made this earlier. I'd given it 4 minutes, and then I NPR'd it. And it's been sitting warm that whole time. So let me just show you what it looks like on the inside. So basically, here's your horchata. It's got the cinnamon in it. It's super, super clear. So I had to do nothing except put all of this together. And just with that, I can take it out, and I can dish it out into a little pitcher here. And I can have my horchata, which I will stir with a chopstick because I can't find my regular sticks. And then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of the ground cinnamon that I did earlier. Okay, and my horchata is ready to go. And it's that simple. So 4 minutes, yes, love. Okay, there we are. I'm just gonna have a sip actually.
Erythritol?
Oh my God, that is so good. Erythritol is just, this whole thing is mine. Roger and Alex are gonna have to share that one. Erythritol is just a natural a plant sweetener. So stevia comes from a cactus leaf. It's a natural sweetener. I do that because I'm super carb intolerant, and so I can't I can't actually tolerate sugar. But if you use sugar, you can do whatever works for you. So let me recap. We have just made the horchata. So, we put rice milk, this rice milk, whatever kind of sweetener you want, and cinnamon, and we cook that for 4 minutes. There are a lot of drinks you can make in your Instant Pot. I make chai in there. Most of you have had the masala chai. I make agua de Jamaica in there. I make Oh, I make a rose milk with rose petals, and Alex and I just got some lavender. We're going to infuse some milk with lavender to make creme brulees. So I might actually run that through the pressure cooker to see how that works. So there's a lot of stuff you can do in terms of drinks. So now we had our chicken poblano thing running earlier. So let me just release the pressure. It's going to be loud. You guys know how this works. Oh no, it's not going to be loud. Now I'm worried it didn't cook because it really should not have come off pressure that quickly.
How much do you need for the carton of rice milk?
So there's a recipe on the blog. Don't go by the way I do it. I look at it and I just throw it. But there's an horchata recipe on the blog, and it'll tell you exactly how much.
Can you use honey?
You should not use honey for this one. I don't think it's going to taste right. You could use palm sugar, coconut sugar. You could use those things. The honey being cooked under pressure, I'm not a fan of that. I worry about how that will be. Okay, there's a lot going on in here. Let me move this before something falls and breaks. Okay, give me half a second. Wah! I'm turning into, you know, if I was in the middle of an RA flare-up, I could not do this. So I'm actually quite grateful to be able to do any of this. Okay, so now we have a job ahead of us. I made the soup. I'm a little bit worried about how fast it cooked. Okay, you see the chicken in here? I'm going to fish the chicken out. Now I'll tell you, I cheated a little bit. I cut short on the time just because I was worried that you guys would get bored watching this thing. So I didn't give it the whole 15 minutes or whatever the recipe calls for. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fish this out. We're going to let the chicken rest for a little bit. And in the meantime, all of this goodness is going to become the thick base for the soup. So my handy dandy immersion blender is being pressed into play. Well, I'm trying to press it into play, shall we say. Okay, so here's my immersion blender. And now, uh-oh. I'm not talking while this is going on. This is the advantage of doing a video. I could have shortcut all this. Okay, that's enough for now. Now, if you want to do this smoother, of course you can. I'm running out of patience. I don't like when something takes that long to puree. So it's out of luck as far as I'm concerned. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this chicken and, where's my knife, honey? Right, Alex? You know where my knife is, baby? Okay, well, we're going to have to use another one. So we're going to take this chicken and we're going to slice it. Oh, that's perfect. See that? See how perfect it is? Nothing leaked out. None of the juices are out. It's not pink on the inside. Now, you could shred this or you could not. Gracie's come to investigate, by the way. She wants to know what's going on. So I use chicken breast for this, and Gracie wants some. I might let her have some. But essentially what you're going to do at this point is a couple of different things. You could shred this and you could put the chicken back in, okay? The other thing you're going to do is you're going to use some lime juice. So by the way, did you guys know that this thing needs to face up when you're doing a lime? I had no idea. I used to do it the other way around. And I think I'm going to run into trouble. See, this is the stuff that most people take for granted. Honey, come and do this for me, Alex. Can you come do this for me? Most people take this for granted. When you have RA, you cannot do this. You just can't. So Alex is going to come help me. Come on, love. Squeeze that in for me, darling. Thank you, sweetheart. Alex, by the way, is an excellent baker. He just made killer creme brulees that I saw, and he made caramelized onions that I saw the other day. No, caramelized, what, honey? Caramelized what? Bananas. Yeah. Bananas. Caramelized bananas, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Perfect. So we have a fresh burst of lime juice in there. We have this, but the main thing that we want is I'm going to turn this onto saute. because what I want now is I'm going to put in, for creaminess, I'm going to put in some cream cheese, okay? So I've cut up my cream cheese and I'm just going to mix it in. This is going to take a little bit longer than I have the patience for, I know. But essentially what you're going to do is you're going to let the cream cheese melt in here, and then you are going to get a creamier soup in here, and you're going to put chicken in the bowl, and then you're going to pour the soup on it, okay? So I'm going to slice this. Meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, you guys ask. And I think other than that, we are almost done. The soup hasn't quite finished all the way, but I don't think you need to stay there and watch to see how it works. Gracie's watching quite carefully, hoping she's going to get some. But other than that, what I would do is, I tell you what, let me just pour some out here. Let's do this. The cream cheese, once it melts in there, it's going to make a lot creamier soup, which you're not seeing right now. But, you know, just in the interest of time, I don't want to hold you guys up. You get an idea of what is going to happen. You're essentially going to get a super thick soup. Now, let's talk a little bit really quick about what's in this soup, okay? So there was onions, garlic, what was it? What else was in here? Onions, garlic, poblanos. Onions, garlic, poblanos, and a whole bunch of spices. No, I think it's fine. We've got this, okay? And then you can arrange your chicken on top into the soup, or you can shred it, whatever works for you. And meanwhile, this chicken is going to go back in so that I can clear up my workspace. And what questions? How is everybody doing? How are we doing, Alex? Can you provide some feedback? Okay, all good? No questions, no concerns?
Is there cauliflower in the soup?
There is cauliflower in the soup. Somebody was watching, and I was forgetting. You know, normally, here's what normally happens. Normally, I make the soup ahead of time. I make stuff ahead of time, and then you guys get to see one made and one not. So here's the problem. We have so much food when I do that I really just don't know what to do with it. And tomorrow, I'm going to Austin. So I don't know, is anybody watching that's going to be in Austin? I'm going to meet with several of you in Austin to be able to go and, you know, sign a book or three, maybe if 3 people have bought my cookbook, I might get to sign those. And then we're just going to eat at Jill's house and just kind of hang out. So while this happens, I'm going to move this to the side, because what I'm going to do at this point, if there are no questions, is I'm going to kind of wrap up so that we can get back. Oh my God, look at the, guys, look at the mess that I have made in here. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Okay. What, honey? I'm ready to go. You guys figure out where we're going and I will do it. Okay, let me show you everything we've made so far.
Where in Austin?
Austin, there's an event in the Facebook page, in the Facebook group, and all you have to do is show up for the event. Where's my horchata, honey?
Behind you.
Behind me. Okay. And then, just right before serving, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my leftover lemon, and you really should have zested this earlier, but I didn't. And I'm just going to put a little bit of lemon zest because, you know, don't waste anything, right? A what? Yeah, we are. Sally's working on it. Sally Lee is working on the California trip. So really, you should do this with a whole lime because, as you can see, I'm in danger of cutting myself here. But anyway, you know, do this ahead of time. Get the zest set aside. And here's what we have. We have a shrimp with cotija and tomatillos. There's a little bit of carbs in this. The carbs are all coming from the tomatillos. You could put less. You could put something else in there. Another thing that would be really, really good in there is actually zucchini. Zucchini and poblanos. I have another recipe with that. That's actually quite good. We have our poblano soup with the chicken sliced into it, and the cream cheese is still melting in it, but this will be a really creamy soup. And then we have the cheater horchata that we did. So it's about 45 minutes. It's a little bit longer than I wanted to go, but we did 3 dishes, and I hope this was helpful for you guys. Again, I'm Urvashi Patre. My blog is twoslevers.com. Thank you for the patience with the sound working, not working, but I hope that for you, you can see all of this and that this was a good meal. and that it was helpful for you to watch this. So we walked through the Instant Pot, we walked through the gem, we walked through how to do a cheetah horchata. So you could essentially serve this for dinner, for a low carb dinner, and be all set. And I think your guests would be quite happy. Horchata's out of the view. All right. So we're good. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.